Okay, so let's be clear from the start. Lleyton Hewitt was never supposed to dominate men's tennis. He wasn't tall, he wasn't powerful, he didn't have the silky smooth elegance of Federer or the jaw-dropping topspin of Nadal. What he did have was grit. Raw, unfiltered, scrappy, blood and sweat grit. And somehow, that was enough. For a little bit at least, he clawed his way to the top of a sport that should have left him behind. And then, as tennis evolved, well, it did. What followed was one of the most dramatic downfalls in ATP history. This is the story of how Lleyton Hewitt went from the youngest world number one in history to a player who couldn't get past the first round of slams. Let's get into it. Lleyton Glyn Hewitt was born in Adelaide, South Australia in 1981. His father was a former Aussie rules footballer and his mother a physical education teacher. Athleticism was in his blood. He actually dreamed of playing pro football before switching to tennis full-time at age 13. By 1998, at just 16 years old, Hewitt turned pro. He exploded onto the scene the same year by winning the Adelaide International as a qualifier. He beat Andre Agassi in the semifinals. Nope, that's not a typo. At 16, Lleyton Hewitt was already punching above his weight. In 2000, Hewitt showed signs of becoming a true all-around weapon. He won the US Open men's doubles title alongside Max Mirny and made the semifinals of the singles event, losing to none other than Pete Sampras, the very guy who defined dominance in that era. Oh, and he also made the mixed doubles final at Wimbledon that year. The guy was everywhere, at 19. But all of that was just a teaser. In 2001, Hewitt hit full throttle. At the US Open, he didn't just beat Pete Sampras, he destroyed him. Hewitt crushed Sampras in straight sets 7-6, 6-1, 6-1 to claim his first Grand Slam title. At just 20 years old, he became the youngest ever world number one in the history of the ATP rankings. This was no fluke. Hewitt followed it up in 2002 with a win at Wimbledon, historically a tournament that rewarded big servers and serve and volleyers. Hewitt, a 5'11" baseliner with an elite return game and lightning foot speed. His Wimbledon title shocked the tennis world. And even crazier, at this point, Federer was 6 months younger and hadn't even made a Slam semifinal. Hewitt was 2 for 2 in Slam finals. He had a winning head-to-head against Federer 7-2. Lleyton Hewitt was, at the time, considered a generational talent. He finished both 2001 and 2002 as the year-end world number one. Now, here's where things get tricky. Because while Hewitt stayed near the top for a few more years, semi-finalist at the 2004 US Open, finalist at the 2005 Australian Open, the game was already starting to leave him behind. By 2004, Roger Federer had arrived. By 2005, Rafael Nadal had arrived. And by 2007, Novak Djokovic was breathing down everyone's neck. Hewitt still fought, he still made quarterfinals, he still battled on the court like every point was life or death. But he was no longer feared. He was no longer winning slams. At the 2005 Australian Open, he reached his final Grand Slam final, losing to Marat Safin in 4 sets. He was 24, still young and still hungry. But he would never again reach a Slam final. From 2005 onward, Hewitt's name began slipping down the seed lists. After peaking at age 21-22, Hewitt began a long, painful descent. He battled chronic injuries, hip surgeries, ankle problems, a litany of physical setbacks that slowly chipped away at his movement, the very thing that had been his superpower. And by the late 2000s, Hewitt was a former world number one, struggling to make it past the second round of Grand Slams. 2007, first round exit at the US Open. 2008, missed the US Open entirely. 2009, lost in the second round of Wimbledon. But the lowest point? That might just be the 2011 Australian Open. Hewitt, a former finalist and national hero, was stuck playing David Nalbandian in the first round, a guy he had faced in a Wimbledon final just 9 years earlier. It was a brutal 5-set war that Hewitt lost 9-7 in the fifth. That match was symbolic. Two fallen giants battling in round one. Both past their primes, both just trying to matter again. And while we're at it, let's talk about Federer. Remember that 7-2 head-to-head advantage Hewitt once held? Well, that flipped. Hard. Federer went on to beat Hewitt 15 straight times from 2004 to 2010. It no longer became a rivalry. It was more like a slow-motion execution. Before we dive into Hewitt's second act, the double stint, the Davis Cup comeback, and his surprising reinvention, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below. Was Hewitt a generational talent who just got unlucky? Or was he always a ticking time bomb whose game had a hard ceiling? Let us know what you think. We're reading all of it. After years of injuries and declining results, Hewitt shifted focus. He dabbled more in doubles, playing with fellow Aussies like Jordan Thompson and Thanasi Kokkinakis. He never won another slam in men's doubles after his early 2000 US Open title. But the shift allowed him to stay in the game without destroying his body. Anymore, at least. But Hewitt's real passion project? Davis Cup. He loved playing for Australia. He lived for the team format, the crowd energy, the flag on his sleeve. Even when his singles ranking plummeted, Hewitt showed up for Davis Cup ties like they were Grand Slam finals. He led Australia to the finals in 2003 and the semis multiple times after. And after retiring in 2016, Hewitt became Australia's Davis Cup captain. He's been instrumental in mentoring the next generation, players like Alex de Minaur and Jordan Thompson. So how do we remember Lleyton Hewitt? 2 Grand Slam singles titles, 1 Grand Slam doubles title, the youngest world number 1 in history, until Carlos Alcaraz, of course, a Davis Cup champion, a guy who once owned Roger Federer in head-to-head matches, but also a guy whose game aged like milk, a player who peaked young and crashed even younger, a career that flatlined at 24 and never truly recovered. The game moved on, bigger serves, more spin, greater athleticism. Hewitt, with his counterpunching style and relentless hustle, just didn't have the tools to keep up. And yet, he still fought, still showed up, still screamed come on like he was number 1 in the world again. Was it the biggest downfall in tennis history? You could make a strong case. But maybe that's what makes his stories so human. Because unlike Federer, Nadal, or Djokovic, Hewitt didn't glide to greatness. He scrapped his way there. And when it fell apart, he scrapped to stay relevant. That's not a fall from grace. That's just who Lleyton Hewitt always was. See you next time.